Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Braden, Tim, Second Legacy, you are amazing, and thank you for showing up. It turns out they got the gun, guys. They found a guy. You hate to see it, always sitting there watching, eating McDonald's after you kill the CEO because of an insurance beef, like you always do. You still have the gun. You still have all the other things. Tons of questions to be answered, but that's for another time. But right now, we've got to show you what the gun was in question, because there's lots of rumors going around on the internet. What was it? Was it something? Was it a blunderbuss from 1601? We don't know. There's so many questions. Well, now we've got some images, and we're going to show it to you. Of course, guys, make sure that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on if you are enjoying the two-way apparatus that we are providing here with a little bit of humor and a little bit of sarcasm for your enjoyment, pleasure, and freedom. Tim,
yes,
we got the gun. Got it. They caught him. They got him. The assassin, the would-be. Well, no, he did. He did it. The assassin. We caught him.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy too, because there's so much discussion going on after the video was released of the assassination. I saw so many videos dropping like that day, and I saw people like military veterans out there saying, I definitely know what it is, and this is what it is. We'll get into that probably in this video. And they were wildly wrong. You had the New York City Police Department coming out going, yeah, we know what it was, and it was purchased in Connecticut because we found one over there, and that's got to be it. And those of us that saw the video, I immediately saw so many things odd in that video.
They were odd. That's the way to describe it. Odd. Yes.
Odd. That didn't make sense. People are saying, well, this is a professional hit. I knew within the first 30 seconds, this was nothing like a professional hit. I mean, everything that the experts were telling us was wrong. And it's
that's weird. They're never wrong.
Yeah. It's not just the experts. And keep in mind, folks, just because somebody wears a uniform, like a law enforcement uniform, a military uniform, does not make them a firearms expert. Most of those people don't, the firearm is part of the job, and they get minimal training. And unless you have an extreme interest in firearms and learning everything you can about them, you're not going to be an expert just because you went through a qualification course or through SOI in the Marine Corps or something like that. That doesn't make you a weapons expert. And so that people fall into that trap. They see a uniform. Oh, yep, they're an expert. No, doesn't work that way. And proven once again through this whole debacle. But anyway,
that's very true. And by the way, I'm gonna brag on Tim a little bit. We're either this way. I think he's this way. No, he's this way. Whatever, doesn't matter.
I'm over here.
So shut up. Tim is one of the utmost knowledgeable people in the gun world that I've ever met. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, you guys, this guy right here that we're looking at, he is a very, very knowledgeable person on this. And that's why this is such an interesting conversation, because we talked about earlier on, Tim, rumors were abounding on this. It was like, it was a veterinary gun. It was definitely something like tranquilizer converted into a 9mm. It was an assassin, a well gun.
I know where that I know where all that came from. But first I want to say thank you for the compliments. But Braden, I am happily married and I'm not interested. But anyway, it's true.
It would be the best you've ever had. But anyway, let's continue.
So there were rumors like it was a veterinary pistol, and where they got that from is non-gun people. The Station 6 became the focus of what everybody thought the assassin had, which is a B&T bolt action 9mm pistol, which is now also available in 45 ACP. But they were saying it was the Station 6, but the Station 6 was originally, when it was being developed, I have pictures of it. I was in Switzerland when they were being developed. I was visiting B&T at the time. And it's a copy of a well rod, which is World War II era pistol. But what they're saying is that it was a veterinarian pistol, and the original name of the Station 6 was VP9, which stood for Veterinary Pistol 9mm. Okay, and yes, it was intended for.
I actually didn't know that. That's
interesting. A lot of people don't know that, right? So, but it was going to be marketed. I don't think that it ever was. It's something that would be used in a humanitarian sense to dispatch animals quietly. Right, that's where the original name VP9 came from. Well, that turned into this big argument online that I vividly remember, where people saying, "No, it's meant for police to shoot dogs," and they're like, "You know what? Let's ditch that name and call it the Station 6," which then pays homage to Station 6 of World War II fame, where the well rod would have been used within the organization. So, that's where all that comes from.
That's interesting. I genuinely didn't know that, but I thought that was fascinating. And just to kind of put this in my frame of experience on this, you guys all know that you have those family members who don't do guns, and you have those friends who just don't do guns, but they have that thing that piques their interest. And when they start saying things to you like, "So was it a well gun?" and you kind of like, "Excuse me? Which
What's a well
you
gun?
don't even know what a Glock is. Where'd you pull that from? That was the level of intrigue we achieved, because that happened to me personally. I was like, what? Where'd you learn that word? Anyway, doesn't matter.
Well, it was just people
So,
reading the mainstream media, which gets everything wrong habitually, either on purpose or by just ignorance. And of course, then they all become experts. Well, I read on NPR that it was a well rod, that it was a veterinarian pistol, that it was a professional assassin's gun. Yeah. And suddenly everybody reads the NPR, NBC, or CNN, and they're gun experts because they got bum information from a bunch of purple-haired goons that, I don't know if they play Call of Duty, which, if you've seen Call of Duty 6, that's a hot mess. Anyway, I'm off in the weeds. Get over here, Tim. Get back out of the weeds. Come on, get out of the weeds.
You're like all over the place. But it's okay. We're having fun. All right.
Yes, trying to.
So let me show you. Well, I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to tell you a few highlights, and then we'll get to the actual goodies about the gun piece here, because there's some real interesting stuff here. So it sounds like your typical standard arrest. We caught the guy eating McDonald's. He had the gun and the suppressor still on him, which makes total sense. And then he had a manifesto, which he hated corporations and big evil money and insurance. Okay, fine. Yeah. It sounds like a leftist wacko. Anyway, can't confirm that. Just saying, it's got hallmarks. But
immediately people are saying he's right wing, he's left wing. We don't know what he is.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. The point is, he's dumb enough to do something like this.
Well,
the other point is, he completely disproved gun control on its face across the board in New York. So there's that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's just get to the point. Let's just show what the people want to see. Let's stop hiding the lead. Let's stop playing just the tip and give them the whole gun. Check this out. This right here, that's it. So, okay, I have my thoughts on this, but immediately your thoughts on this image, Tim. First of all, there's no suppressor, and I want to see the suppressor. I want to know why that gun
There's the threaded
malfunctioned.
barrel. Yeah, but the suppressor is absent from all photos that have been released thus far.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a dark, grainy photo. And keep in mind, guys, the monitor that I'm looking at right now pixelates the pixelated image even more. So I'm just looking at a black blob. But what I do see is forward and rear slide serrations, which tells me it looks like a Glock 19 Gen 5 slide. You know, it's definitely a Glock or Glock clone. People are saying that it's a 3D printed lower. That very well could be. I do not see the serial number on the underside of the dust cover there. It looks like, to me, just your run-of-the-mill Glock 19 Gen 5 based on this angle and the heavy pixelation that I have in front of me.
Right. So for me, when I'm looking at this, it looks very much like a slide from a later generation Glock. It genuinely does. But
with suppressor height sights too, which is interesting.
Correct. Yes, that's also interesting. So when you're just looking at the upper, we're just talking about the actual slide portion of this. This was a purpose-built machine, right? You've got suppressor level sights. You have a threaded barrel, and it's mounted onto a frame. But before we get to the frame, this gun was, genuinely, this guy came ready to the party. He came ready to do what he was going to do. And I don't condone what he did. I'm just saying, from the actual upper, it looks like everything kind of checks out. The frame is where it gets really weird, because this is where you get into the 3D printed versus ghost gun versus New York polymer 80, like all of these things that they've gone down this road on. To me, when my first gut reaction on this, Tim, it is either a 3D printed, it looks like a 3D printed, or a heavily stippled Glock lower or heavily stippled 80%er. That's what it looks like to me.
Yep.
But there's no way for me to tell unless I can actually get my hands on it. There is a little relief section underneath the slide release, that little depression where there could be a serial inserted. There's not one, to Tim's point, underneath the accessory rail, which is where Glocks usually put theirs. So there's a lot of things that don't 100% match with a lot of standards on this, which kind of leads me to believe this is either an 80% or a home job.
Right. But here's the thing, right? And of course, the media is going to glob onto this, like, oh my gosh, ghost gun. Oh my gosh. Let me ask you this question, folks. If that pistol, assuming it doesn't have a serial number, if that pistol had a serial number on it, do you think they would have solved the crime any more quickly?
Correct.
No.
Or if this was a gun that had an obliterated serial number, which was a manufactured gun, but it was obliterated, which is a felony, There's so many different pieces to go down this
Right.
avenue. Like, we're standing at this point where we have 9 different avenues to go down.
But the point being is they're going to make this big deal out of it being a ghost gun.
Absolutely.
But the reality is it doesn't matter if it's a ghost gun with no serial number or store-bought gun that had a serial number or a gun with an obliterated serial number. None of that would have changed the outcome. There. Doc just brightened it up. I wanted to bring up those lower levels. So there's definitely nothing on the dust cover there that I can see. But so yeah, and that indentation you're talking about, that's just a basically a little ledge there to stop the travel, which it would stop on its own anyway, of the slide stop slide release. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good looking printed lower if it's printed. But anyway, the whole point of this being is regardless of where this pistol came from, regardless if it had a serial number or not, regardless of any of that, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. It wouldn't have stopped the assassination, and it wouldn't have sped up the investigation if this firearm had a serial number on it. It's silly. But they're going to make a big deal out of it. They're going to pretend like if this would just have had its serial number on this all could have been prevented.
Okay, so Dr. Slides just edited it, and it's almost to perfection level. He did this in real time, guys. That's a good job, Doc. So as we zoom in, the things that stand out to me on this, now that I've actually got a little bit more detail that I can see.
Yeah.
What's interesting here is the stippling in front of the breakdown. That's an interesting addition. It
looks 3D printed to me now. Yeah.
Now it does. Right. Yep. Because now you're seeing all these little what's the right word?
Just going features. By the texture, shape, pinholes, things like that. It does not look Glock in nature. The polymer side of it.
Not anymore. Nope. No, now that the top lighting has changed,
it looks to be Glock to me 100%.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
But now that when you change the lighting on that changes the entire the entire appearance and the entire interpretation of what you're looking at. Like, I mean, that is good job, Dr. Slides. That's really good. And even the trigger guard doesn't look familiar. I honestly think we're looking at a really good 3D printer or a PMF.
So I'm kind of trying to see. So if that is a Glock upper, there would be a serial number on it, although it's not a tracked or registered part on a Gen 5. I'm trying to see all the places where there would be on the barrel, there would be on the slide. But again, those aren't items that ATF tracks. I'm going to send this over to Doc Slides so you guys can see what we're talking about, where a serial number would normally be. It's so cool that we can do all this in real time.
Isn't it? I mean, isn't that really awesome? That's really freaking cool. It really is.
Let's see. All right, Doc. So if you could throw that up, I just texted it over. This will show you where Glock generally puts its serial number, and you can clearly see that's absent from this video that we've brought up the dark areas.
Yeah. I mean,
there's where you would typically find a serial number. So along with, the Europeans serialize everything. Right. But in the United States, all we care about is the frame.
True.
So, all the ATF cares about is the frame.
Well, right. And it's so fascinating. And it looks like he's arranging a side by side here. What's interesting about this, I mean, that's a really good, if that's 3D printed, that's a really good 3D print, if that's 3D printed.
Yeah, or polymer 80 or whatever. But I mean,
I lean more towards that direction. That looks it's mass produced.
Yeah, it's hard to say. But the point I want to drive home is that regardless of how he came into possession of this, it would have not changed the fact that he committed the crime. He would have committed it anyway with some other firearm, with or without a serial number, and had the police or ATF had the serial number. Well, had it been on the gun, the police and the ATF wouldn't know who had that particular serial number at the time. Had there been a serial number on the gun, still would have changed the outcome, wouldn't have sped up the investigation, would have changed absolutely nothing other than giving the anti-gunners a talking point, which they will use.
They've already used. We've got it pulled up. In fact, if you want to go over to the next one, this is the Giffords post. Dr. Slides, sorry to interrupt your creativity. You did great work there, man. That was on the fly. That was pretty good. All right, this is from Giffords.org. Law enforcement have detained a person of interest in the assassination of the CEO, Brian Thompson. He had a ghost gun when apprehended, which is untraceable, easy to obtain without a background check, and ideal for those who seek to do harm. They will never miss a tragedy, people. They just simply won't. They will always stand on the bodies in tragedy because it's what fuels their momentum. It fuels their engagement. It fuels their financial donations. It fuels their political momentum. Everything. Like when we fight these people, when I say we fought these people, Tim has been doing it much longer than I have. But both of us, we know these people so inside and out. We could almost tell you what they're going to do before they know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because they're that predictable. They really are that predictable.
Well, they're going to go after 3D printers hard. They've been looking for any excuse they can. And, you know, it's always, some people, I mean, the conspiracy theorists are out there all over the place. And one of the things I saw somebody post, which is actually, I took note, and you'll know that we were almost to the point where we were going to pass a law when Trump was president first time around that would have gotten suppressors off the registry finally.
Was it the Shush Act or the Hush Act? Because they changed it.
People will remember it as the Hush or the Shush. I don't know if it's, you know, what's that effect where people think they remember something that didn't happen in a movie or something like Aladdin. But I can't remember if it was Hush or Shush. I think it was the Shush Act. But regardless, we almost had suppressors off the registry. And then right when it was going for a vote, what happens? Vegas. And that
shocking.
guy had bump stocks and silencers, which, I mean, obviously they work so well because you couldn't hear the gunshots in any of the video that were posted. But then you had Hillary Clinton immediately run out there and was like, we need to get rid of suppressors. And then what died? What never went for a vote right after that? And here we are again, Trump's elected, discussions all over the place about finally getting suppressors and maybe SBRs off the NFA. And some clown prints a lower and possibly a suppressor and goes out and commits an unspeakable act. Let's just not let it short circuit freedom.
I still think that we're going to get suppressors. I don't know why. I have genuine, honest to God, I have zero statistical evidence. I have zero verbiage. No one's told me on a back channel. My gut is telling me suppressors. We're going to get suppressors. I don't know why. I got nothing. I think it's going to happen, though.
I hope so. I mean, we got 2 years to get it done before midterms. That's one of those things we need to focus on.
Yeah. I think the 2 years, I think we're going to get one. Listen, now this is a totally different video, but I think that we're going to get one legislative victory in 2 years. That's pretty reasonable expectation. I think we're going to get one legislative victory, and we're going to butt a bunch of executive rip out from the root victories.
Gosh, I hope so.
I don't know. Okay, here's a good way to wrap this video. What would you like better? Would you like suppressors removed with the potential maybe of SBRs, probably just suppressors, or national reciprocity? What would you like best?
Which one first?
Well, I mean, if you could only choose one to achieve in the first 2 years.
That's like trying to make me pick a child. Which one's your favorite?
I know, but sometimes Sophie's choice. So let's
national reciprocity. I'd be excited about if we would just call it constitutional carry and the federal government wasn't issuing licenses. They were only saying, hey, look, Americans have a right to carry a gun in all 50 states. Stop harassing people. That would be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
That would be truly amazing. And that would have far more reaching effects for most gun-owning Americans.
I agree on that.
Because suppressors, even though they become, much more common and many more companies manufacturing them, now you're looking at days to transfer one versus months or years. They become more popular, but still not that many people use them. I do. I suppress everything. But if I'm going to go for the greater good, then it would be national reciprocity / constitutional carry, because I don't want federal governments issuing licenses for gun carrying. That's contrary to the Constitution, I think. But anyway.
Well, no, of course. But I mean, I agree with you completely. Suppressors would be a cool feather in our cap, but the one that would have the most implication for freedom across the states would be national reciprocity.
A lot of people get jammed up on crossing state lines.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yep. So,
I concur.
Anyway.
But that's another thing for another video. Man, do we have a lot to talk about in the future.
And so, and one thing I want to note before we take this out, once again, Giffords, they're so brave. They post this tripe on X and then they disable comments because they know they're going to get gutted once again. I mean, why do they even bother at this point? I don't know. Maybe it's because that's what their donors want. Yeah, something.
Hold on. This is actually important. Let's see how many they're at. I want to see what their view totals at on that post. Let's get back to it. Dang it. Oh, here we go.
Who got the one comment in? Was it them commenting their own post, or did somebody get a comment?
Yeah. No, it was them. No, it was them. So, you know what, Tim? You bring up an interesting point, and I'm just going to I'm going to say this and throw it over to you for the outro. If you guys ever thought that you were winning or you weren't winning, understand the reach that we have achieved on the gun rights side, not individuals. I'm saying collectively, you, I, everybody you know. Giffords.org, which is a national gun control agency, gets 4,800 views on an article like this around ghost guns. Do you know what happens when me and Tim put out videos by ourselves on our own channel? 50,000, 60,000, 30,000. I mean, like we're 10xing them, not us, you guys. I mean, just so you know, put it in framing of perception. We have a much larger voice than a lot of people expect us to have. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. In social media, I would say the 2A community is very active. You know, the conservative movement has dominated the airwaves on radio forever. And it seems that even on cable, that like Fox News, which is about as conservative as they get. I wouldn't say they're conservative, but they're about as conservative as you get.
Right.
They readily outpace CNN, MSNBC, all the others. Like the others will get 300,000 views to their top show of the afternoon, and Fox will get 3 million. Right. So it's like we're outpacing them everywhere, and it upsets them to the point where they constantly want to rig the game. Right. You have Soros out there saying he wants to buy up all these radio stations so he can get rid of conservative talk radio and all this other stuff. But anyway, yes, I would agree. Our voices do matter. Be vocal, be loud, contact your representatives. Look, have a good time, enjoy, Christmas and all that stuff. When January 1 hits, let's get to work, folks, and let's get pro-gun legislation passed. Let's get unconstitutional laws undone, and let's move through this whole process of undoing all these unlawful, now thanks to the SCOTUS, all these unlawful regulations that have been imposed upon us through the will of these faceless agencies, because it's been shot down. Thank you, SCOTUS. Thank you for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.